Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Fortitude Fix. I hope you're well. My name is DaShanna, and in today's video I want to share with you 10 conversations that you must have before your baby comes. Before we get started, I just wanted to share, I know that this video is about partners and support systems, but I do understand that there are some who are co-parenting, there are some folks who are solo parenting, and take what you will from these videos. They're always meant to be helpful, never meant to be offensive, but I hope that this video has a little bit of something for everybody. So a while after having my daughter Nova, I saw this post on Instagram and it inspired this video. The post was conversations that my partner and I had, and then conversations I wish we had before our baby arrived. So on that list of conversations that they did have were ones around gender reveal and baby shower and the baby moon and pictures and how we're gonna let folks know that we're pregnant and all of these conversations. And yes, while those are great conversations to have, this video is going to dive into those conversations that we wish we would have had before baby arrived. Let's get into it. The first must-have conversation is your partner or support system's role in the daily routine. What does a 24-hour period of time look like? Who's gonna do what? What chores go to which person? Are you switching off? There are still things around the house now that still need to be done. So how do we balance that with a new baby? What's everyone's role? And are they clear on those roles and expectations and the frequency in which certain things around the house or with babies should be done? Second conversation that I think is super important is around leave and what's going on with work. So does your partner have paternity leave or maternity leave or family leave? What's going on? Do they need to use their PTO? Do they need to use vacation time, sick time? What's the law in your state? Are you all going to take the leave together so that you can both be home with baby? Or are you gonna alternate and kind of one person does their leave first and the next person does the next chunk of time? Super important, must have. The third super important conversation is around grandparents and other family members and their role in little one's life. Are we expecting our parents, so baby's grandparents, to babysit, to run a full-time daycare? Are we expecting them to come over and visit? Are we not allowing that because of what's going on in the world right now? Maybe we are waiting for vaccinations. Just making sure that you have a conversation with your partner or your support system around grandparents and other family members and figuring out what those specific roles and boundaries are going to be, especially in those beginning stages. All right, so the fourth super important conversation is around self-care. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? Being able to find those words to verbalize, you know what? I know that there are dishes in the sink, but I really need to go out and take a walk. So if you could, instead of washing the dishes, maybe hang out with baby while I go outside and take a walk. Really taking care of yourself and figuring out what it is that you need. I know a lot is gonna be happening in your brain, but take some time, figure out what you want and what you need, and don't be afraid to vocalize that. The fifth conversation that is also super important is surrounding nights, night times, and feedings and awake periods. Who's gonna be up with baby? Are we taking turns? Are we switching off from one night to the next night? Is it the person that's on leave from work is staying up and then it switches when the other person goes on leave? What if the person has to work in the morning? Like, how are you going to work that out? And a lot of that can be dictated with feeding, right? So are we exclusively breastfeeding? Are we using formula? Are we gonna pre-make the bottles? Who's gonna do that? Are we gonna, tag team this and I breastfeed and then you bottle feed the next time? Really having a conversation about what you want that to look like and what the expectations are for your partner support system during those nighttime hours. Speaking of nighttime hours, sleep deprivation. Having a conversation around what happens when you are really feeling that sleep deprivation. I can tell you firsthand that it is going to affect people differently. I have realized that when I don't have a routine or when I don't know when I'm going to sleep or how long I'm going to sleep, it causes a lot of anxiety for me. And I just remember in those beginning stages, like, I was sleep deprived. I was doing things and going through the motions, but it just felt like my husband was fine, although tired, maybe not as tired as me or in a different way, and it just created this really interesting dynamic to where we really needed to sit down and talk about what we needed from one another because we were sleep deprived. How are we going to deal with one another? How are we going to support one another when dealing with being tired all of the time? Speaking of support, how are we going to check in with one another regarding our mental health? Postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum aggression, baby blues, all of these things are real and it could potentially affect both partners. So how are we going to kind of keep tabs on one another? Maybe it's daily check-ins, maybe it's some sort of code word, but how are we going to check in? How are we going to know if something isn't right with our partner and support them through that? And then next would be, who is really our support system? Who are the folks that I know that are going to support me, that are going to speak life into me, into my partner? Who is going to be my support system through this? Who are the folks that we've identified that maybe have gone through something similar or who know a bit more about this particular topic? When, how are those folks available to us? Do I know what it takes to reach out to them? Do I have their phone numbers stored? And really just not being afraid to reach out to those folks that you know are in your corner. They are there to support you, and obviously everyone is super excited and folks just really want to know how they can help. So let them know. Another big conversation to have is around cultural norms. I know depending on whatever you view as your culture, whether it's, you know, where we live in terms of regional culture, whether it's my family's culture, whether it's my race or ethnic culture that we have, what are those things that we, maybe traditions that we want to continue, maybe there are traditions that we want to discontinue. How do we have that conversation? Being a parent really is interesting because you have an experience of how you were raised, your partner has an experience of how they were raised, and now you're raising this child together, or you have your support system around you. So what are those decisions that you want to make, and what are the things that you want to do that are the same, and what are those things that you want to do differently? Are you all on the same page with that? And then how then do you communicate that effectively to other folks that are around you, if it's necessary, if you want to? And of course, finances. Really sit down, talk about, plan what we are doing with finances. Are we creating a separate bank account for baby? Are we creating a college fund for baby? What happens when we get all of those gift cards? Do we make decisions on how to spend those gift cards together? Do we make a list and then pick and choose what's most important to spend the gift cards on? Is somebody in charge of the gift cards? What about those random checks or like funds that somebody might send you for baby? Is that going toward like household expenses or straight into baby's account? Really having conversations about finances and what that's going to look like now, in the immediate future, and beyond. Right? Are we adding another line item to our budget that's just called baby stuff, and you allocate certain funds to that every single month or however often you budget? Really talking about the ins and outs of that and what happens when there's money that comes from a grandparent that says it's for baby. Do you buy diapers with this? Does it go to the college fund? Like, figuring out these things and having a conversation about it is super, super important. Now, my goal with this video is definitely not to overwhelm anyone, but to give you an idea of some of the conversations that folks wish they would have had, in addition to some of the other conversations that are typically had. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this video. Please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more lifestyle and mommyhood content. I love making these types of videos here on my channel. And don't forget to leave me a comment. Please tell me, what are some of the conversations that you had, want to have one day, or feel like you should have had before baby arrived? I want to hear from you. Make sure to leave me a comment, and I love reading your responses. I always comment back. So thank you so much for watching this video, for being such an amazing part of this community in my tiny corner over here on the internet. I super appreciate it, and I will see you in my very next video. And as always, remember to fill your cup. Bye.